Oh, coming up next, we got, speaking of which, Mr. Edward Goddard himself.
Goddard?
Goddard?
Goodwin?
Goodwin? I don't know.
Yeah.
Godfrey. He's Edwin Van Cleef Godfrey the third. Gallon. Wow, I gave you a good intro because I believe Gallon might have an opportunity to come cast in the future for GM. Would be really cool. Either way, we have Gallon going up against Eddie. Not as epic of a name. There's Edwin Godfrey the third.
They're both Eddies. They're both
going up against Eddie.
I think Eddie's, first name is Edward. So Edward versus Edward. This is the battle of the Eds.
Yeah, or Edifer.
Edifer, yeah. That's the other common version.
Very traditional.
Yep. But the battle of the Eds. This is a featured matchup in itself. Even though this isn't the featured match of the day or the Frodian's featured match of the day. This is the featured Ed match of the week.
Ed versus Eddie. That's actually
a great
way to set up.
Do we have another Ed in Grandmasters?
That's a good question.
Purple, no. Monsanto, no. Stripe Crow, no. Muzzy, no. ETC, no. Zalay, no. Paul. Nijak, no. Bloody Face, no. Firebad, no. Frozen, no. Gallon, yes, but that's who we're referring to. Saying no. Now get on.
His name's like Facundo.
Close enough. PNC, no. Race, no. No other Eds.
Got it. Well,
we're on a shortage of Eds right now.
We took a look a little bit on your screen about the deck list. Let's talk a little bit about that. Besides first names here, we have Priest, Combo Priest, Malagos Druid, Control Warrior, OTK Paladin. Instead of Control Warrior, OTK Paladin, a very combination. It seems to be three variations that we see in America's Grandmasters. We have Druid and Priest for most players. Then we have Warrior Paladin, Warrior Shaman, or Shaman Paladin. It's like one of these three variations that's very common. That being said, Gallon has deviated entirely from that and decided to go for Reno Hunter. And what makes it very poetic to me, TJ, was that after the 15.0.4 patch, which was the balance changes immediately to extra arms and Blue's Pocket Galaxy and whatnot, one of the predictions that people were throwing out there, and myself included, was that Hunter would probably do pretty well, right? Because that Reno Hunter was already a strong deck. It was one of the most popular decks in Week 1 of Grandmasters, and that didn't get nerfed, so why not benefit by Warrior getting nerfed? And, Mage was a good matchup, so it improved for Hunter. That Gallon messaged me and said, Hunter is bad. There's no way it's going to be good. No one should ever bring Reno Hunter to Grandmaster. You can tell by a good player, blah, blah, blah. What is Gallon bringing? What's his third deck here on your deck list, TJ?
Hunter.
And Hunter got banned. Think about that. Very interesting mix here.
It is.
So after all that set up, we finally see the bans, and Hunter was banned, so we don't even get to see Gallon play Hunter.
Especially after Muzzy, after his match win earlier on today, I believe in the first match against Strife Crow, said that Highlander Hunter on stat sites and by a lot of public perception,
it's great.
Hunter's a good deck. It's got a high win rate, one of the highest, if not the highest, in across like most tiers of ladder. And Muzzy said, in practice, he just kept beating it, and nothing beat it. It was supposed to be this and this and this, and he was beating it with this and this and this. I think that's what his exact phrasing was.
It beats this, and then...
No, that's what he said. He said, the stats say it beats this and this and this, and I kept beating it with this and this and this. He didn't even mention any specifics, maybe to not give away his...
Very
super secret practice and the statistics given to him by his super secret statistic.
Well, it was pretty amusing to me, and by the fact that Gallon, in his own admission, was saying that he thought Hunter was a very weak deck, and he was saying that it's an easy way to decipher who is a Grandmaster that's on top of the meta versus behind it by those who bring Hunter. This is, of course...
Well, if he wins, we'll call him out.
Going to Week 2/3. And now it's come full circle because, TJ... metagames very much like time is a flat circle. They eventually got to the point where because Priest was so good at phasing out all the normal good decks like Shaman and Druid and even to a certain extent Warrior, Paladin, and all those other classes. Hunter has become relevant again in some capacity because it can threaten a range of decks with Priest and Warrior. However, a lot of people say that's not the case. A lot of European Grandmasters specifically scoff at the idea that Hunter beats Priest. They're like, nothing beats Priest. And
Get off your high horse, Europe.
And I think that's a little flippant, to say the least.
Light
To
smiles
just
upon
immediately
the
say that
dust.
Priest has no bad matchups.
Indeed.
It is quite possibly the best deck in the game, and I only say that because I don't want to say anything definitively, because in card games and in strategy games in general, there shouldn't be such a thing as a tier 0 strategy. We've had very few metagames where there was a clear, defined tier 0. In fact, I'd go as far as to say,
Raza Priest.
well, here's the thing. Statistically, Raza Priest was nowhere near tier 0.
Competitive tier 0.
Yes, but even then, was it though?
TJ Warrior.
So
Remember those days?
here's the actual question that's worth asking. Is you see the opening hands here. Gallon has the Light Warden on turn 1. Eddie thinking about if he wants to hold on to this Ahmet because everything else looks good. Oh, that Northshire Cleric coming to his hand. Northshire Cleric, Light Warden, injured Blade Master, Circle of Healing. That's the core 4, as you would say, along with the injured Tolvir. Do you define tiers, TJ, based off of the actual win rates or the theoretical win rates? Because that was pretty much the argument for a long time of Tempo Storm's Mana Snapshot versus the Vicious Syndicate, which I find pretty funny because HS Replay said, all right, kids, settle down. Sat at the table, and now everyone uses HS Replay data.
I don't define it off any data. I define it off of the perception of the metagame when it comes to reacting to the deck.
Hold that thought real quick.
Okay.
I think that's a really interesting thought you just said. Quite possibly the most profound thing that's ever come out of your mouth. Should Gallon use Inner Fire here for +1 attack, Light Warden, and all-in on turn 2?
In
Yes.
the light's name.
Okay. And now back to our regular scheduled programming. Continue.
He didn't all in.
He doesn't need to.
Uh,
But the Pyromancer coin
Power Shield.
Shield is devastating. Absolutely devastating.
now, granted, it would have been devastating even if he had used the Circle of Healing. So.
Oh yeah, we're not discounting that, but Gallon might just lose right here.
Yeah. So let's continue.
So what Gallon did for all the StarCraft fans out there was an equivalent of a 6 pool. This was his 2 Zerglings ran out there trying to nip at the workers, and then Eddie just met with one single Wild Pyromancer and just owned him. Ooh.
That is a single Marine.
Okay. That was the best draw in Gallon's deck. Injured Blade Master with the Circle of Healing in his hand, so he's not completely dead yet.
That's true.
In fact, Gallon is going to be in charge of the board.
Yep, but needs some big follow-up to this injured Blade Master. I don't know if extra arms is going to be enough. We'll see. But
I don't blame Gallon for the previous turn 2 play. It looked really good. His opponent specifically had to have Wild Pyromancer and a 1-mana spell. Or could have had Circle of Healing. A Circle of Healing coin would have also killed it. But then the Pyromancer would have done it too.
Mhm.
So, Eddie had the nuts for that situation.
I must consider.
And now Eddie with a very tenuous situation on how he should be dealing with this. In fact, he actually can kill the Wild Pyromancer, I believe.
Circle of Healing, extra arms.
Yes, in that order. Circle of Healing deals 1 damage to the injured Blade Master, and then extra arms.
He's giving him board again?
Yes.
Because this Wild Pyromancer would... Wait, no. It would go up to 6 health with extra arms. It'd actually be alive in 1. Because
Well,
he'd Circle of Healing... No, it wouldn't. It
the
would die.
challenge that I
It would
see
die.
is that if his opponent plays Psychopomp, he's in kind of a bad
Consider.
spot. Oh, this extra arms with Gallon is nuts. This is what I want to see in a priest mirror, TJ. This is slogging it back and forth. Now Eddie gets punished for not clearing the injured Blade Master. And now Eddie can't really contest that. I mean, he can, but now that Gallon plays his Northshire Cleric, Eddie can't go for his own Northshire Cleric.
That's a smart play.
Circle of Healing, it's brilliant.
Because Eddie would have had a great follow-up, because he would have Northshire Cleric, Injured Blade Master, Circle of Healing, would have drawn 2 cards.
Right. Eddie thought that his Pyromancer could live, and if his Pyromancer lived, he won the game. Because he had Northshire Cleric, Circle of Healing, Injured Blade Master, he would have just popped off, and the game would have been determined right there and then. So Eddie, he saw an opening, and he committed, which we all love a man that commits. It was a really cool line that Eddie has spotted. McAllen responded with extra arms. So both players having like the exact cards to punish them. And then he drew the Northshire Cleric right after to lock out Eddie's comeback potential. Now Eddie still can do it. It's just that he's behind on board now. That's the big problem. So if he goes for a Psycho Pomp, gets back his Pyromancer, is that enough? I don't think so.
He might get back Light Warden also. It's 50-50.
The end.
It is the most resilient.
Interesting.
Well,
So
Topsy-Turvy is interesting now. Because he could flip the Injured Blade Master to make it a stronger, like, attacker. It would increase the health to make sure that he could trade in more efficiently.
Must consider.
But it's... he's incentivized to heal it also.
Yes, I think Gallon in this position wants to heal first. Does, draws a card. Beaming Sidekick, which is actually not bad because he can keep his Northshire Cleric what he feels like to be alive in this position. He knows about one card in the hand from Eddie, which is extra arms, or rather more arms.
I must consider.
Move quickly.
Gallon going with the resource expenditure, killing off the Wire Pyromancer. I actually think this is really smart from Gallon too. He knows that by settings, this is actually really smart in terms of setting up a situation where you can stick a minion on board. The only downside is that he's going to most likely lose his Cleric because he knows about a More Arms opportunity. But if a More Arms gets played, which it kind of needs to in order to get rid of this Cleric, Gallon thinks that he can kill it off with a heal and a trade, because he'd be going from a 6-2 to a 6-4, and that would kill off the topsy-turvied Psycho Pomp, which is now at a 3-5. This game is very strange. It is. It's very unusual priest mode, but I'm enjoying it.
Unfortunately for Gallon, it looks like Eddie kind of has the...
he has the final say.
He has the ultimate final say, because now that he's killed off the Northshire Cleric, he can feel free to go in with his own Northshire Cleric. Now, while the Injured Blade Master does make that awkward, because no matter how he uses Circle of Healing, if he can't kill off the Injured Blade Master, all of a sudden he's giving Gallon a bigger minion.
Yeah, Gallon is the one technically ahead on board. Choosing not to play his Wild Pyromancer here. So it seems like Eddie has a lot of card draw on deck here now. Northshire Cleric comes down, Injured Blade Master comes down, you heal one of your minions, and you Circle of Healing. That allows you to draw 4 cards total this turn.
Is someone injured?
Circle of Healing here is pretty massive, and I think that's why Eddie's considering whether or not he actually wants to do it, given that Well, one, he's healing his opponent's minion. But it seems pretty hard to turn down.
Yeah, because he's likely to pick up a tool to deal with the injured Blade Master next turn. He's sacrificing his Northshire Cleric, so he still gets to get maximum value out of it before it dies. And then he could pick up an answer to it.
Drawing 3 cards is so big. Gallon can't spend his mana. Eddie picks up Bwonsamdi. Going to turn 7. A Met pickup for Gallon. That's big.
Kind of just has to play his cards.
Unfortunately, Gallon has to make a decision if he wants to keep a Met alive, and I don't think he gets to make that decision because he has to kill the cleric. There's still 7 damage challenging to the Cyclopomp and the injured Blade Master. Now Eddie draws all of his 1-drops. I think he only has 1 more card to draw off his Bwonsamdi. He drew his Light Warden #2, his Northshire Cleric #2, and his...
Yeah, it's just 1 Beaming Sidekick.
Beaming Sidekick.
Deck.
That's unlucky.
Hey, 7 mana, 7/7, draw 1 card.
And, I mean, he still is in firm control in terms of the resource battle, but now becomes a tempo issue, which is he going to fall too far behind because he doesn't have enough stats in play? Honestly, a tough spot. 9 times out of 10, I think I'd pick Eddie's position to be in for this game because of just obviously the amount of resources he has.
Mm-hmm.
But, every now and then, Gallon's going to draw the Northshire Cleric into this Power Shield, into the Circle of Healing type situations, and then you're just so far behind.
Quickly.
Yeah, the board is really the only thing that matters at the end of the day. You can use your resources to try and get back on board.
And the Bwonsamdi does threaten a lot, but Gallon sees only 1 card being drawn. That's actually a big relief in his mind. Double trade, never set Ritualist. Tempo.
Yeah, still a long way to go, though. That injured Blade Master is 11 health, but yeah, not enough cards. Needs a second Northshire Cleric.
Eddie is so close to lethal, but does not have the inner fire.
Is someone injured?
In the light's name.
Eddie kills the Wild Pyromancer, shuts off Gallant's ability to come back on the board and draw a bunch of cards. Powerward Shield.
I probably want to protect the Light Warden from being killed by the Neverset Ritualist.
Yes, that does sound good to me.
And you can Beaming Sidekick 1, Powered Shield the other. Protect 1 from the injured Blade Master, the other from the Neverset Ritualist.
Okay, picks up the inner fire. This should set up.
I got you, friend.
Yeah, just load up as much
Final
health as
turns
possible.
here. Yeah, I don't think Gallon can come back in this game anymore.
Quickly.
A wise use of her early Divine Spirit here from Eddie, just to make sure that he can't be touched. This Bwonsamdi that Gallon just top decked, the literal best draw in his deck right now, but it's not good enough. It's just not good enough. He tried really hard. Super close. Gallon can't even kill both the Cleric and the Light Warden. That's how desperate the situation is.
I got you, friend.
Just got to pass and hope that Eddie hasn't found the combo, but he has. Divine Spirit and Interfire in hand. Eddie takes game 1.
Really well navigated on both ends, although the one sidestep is the Pyromancer extra arms. I think that's probably the only thing that was questionable, but overall, some good piloting. And a Priest Mirror, which can be fairly complicated based off of what the potential board states could look like. They have so many cheap spells and powerful combos that you're never truly sure if you're too far behind or you're the one that's actually ahead. So that's our first game in the series, and both players are at 5 and 3, looking to challenge for a #1 spot in contention. So when we come back, we're going to have the conclusion of this best of 3. Stay tuned.
Legends say powerful treasures are hidden everywhere here in Aldum.
If we hope to defeat Rafam, we'll need as many as we can get. He's already unleashed the ancient plague lords and countless monsters. Keep them distracted, Reno.
Not a problem. This plan is totally gonna work. Ain't that right, Finley?
Oh, yes! I have them right, Red Eye.
There is an artifact here. The name is...
The scales of justice. Oh, it must be really fancy.
only to be used in a time of great peril. Yes, I think this qualifies.
Hey, look, Finley! You've lured one of the Plague Lords!
Take this, fiend.
In the face! Yeah! Hey, guys! Get that treasure! We've got a Plague Lord to destroy!
Yes, please, hurry.
Not to worry, Finley! We just push this thing right here.
No! That's a trap! Watch out!
It's all good. I am totally tired.
Gracious me.
What we actually need to do is press this. And there. A fish.
No, it's the scales of justice.
Who wants to use it first?
Ooh, I do! Me! On second thought, maybe give it to Finley?
All you had to do is hold a rope.
Here we go, blaming the tall, ruggedly handsome guy again.
Hello, my name is Frozen. I play for Team Liquid, and my Twitter handle is @LiquidFrozen. I came up with my username because it's very cold in Michigan, and I added the 0 inside the O because it looks cool. I'm most looking forward to being able to play at the highest level every single weekend, being able to compete against some of the best players in North America. I think regionally, performance-wise, Europe has been a step ahead of us, slightly better than America's. But I think that APAC, even though they have a lot of solid players, they are overall weaker than North America. So if I were to rank the regions, it would be EU first, NA second, and APAC third. If I could design a Hearthstone card, it would probably be 1 mana, 0/8. Whenever your opponent's rope burns, they take 5 damage. I've always tried to be the best and do whatever it takes. Hard work, a lot of practice. I think that's what really translates in Hearthstone as well.
Currently, we have Eddie up 1-0 over Gallon as we turn to a non-priest mirror to start things for game number 2. Looks like with the Hunter and the Druid being banned here, Eddie's Paladin and Warrior are going to be going up against Gallon's lineup. And Gallon losing the priest mirror means that priest actually can be a liability. Because Eddie now has Warrior open for the rest of the series, and that might force Gallon off of the Priest.
It might force him off the Priest, but his Malagos Druid seems like it's in a decent spot. Has good matchups against the 2 remaining decks from Eddie. So Shaman can as well. So I think that by queuing Priest game 1, he might think that if he gets a Priest Mirror and wins, he's just got a significant advantage in the matchup, right? Sure. Where if he loses, he can fall back on his other 2 decks to try and take wins against whatever Eddie plays. I can imagine he queues Malagos Druid here as his next deck, and he's going to prove me wrong. So Shaman and Malagos Druid, I think, both do well against the Warrior. from Eddie. Shaman might have a slight edge against Paladin over Druid. We practiced the matchup a lot. I don't know. I think Malygos Druid's still better.
I think Malygos Druid is better, but at the same time, I think he's anticipating Warrior because Gallon might be playing Priest.
But Malygos Druid's sick against Warrior.
It is good.
Of course it's the
It's
right
also,
way.
but also Shaman is really good against Warrior. And also, Gallon is, I think Shaman's better against Paladin.
That's what that's my reasoning. If they're both good against Warrior, then what's better against Paladin?
I think statistically Shaman is, but Druid probably is also just as good, if not better. Malygos Druid data is not very plentiful.
No, it's not.
So, you know, if I try to pull up statistics, it's also not very favorable. And also, because of the way Quest Druid works with data, and you heard it from Muzzy himself, there's a little bit of misreading on what's actually happening. A lot of the Malygos Druids get wins when they're not playing Malygos, because they just like tempo and they're like, oh, you know, I just win because I like swipe with War Druid Lodi on the board and I win.
And had 2 5/5s on turn 5.
Yeah, exactly.
But one thing to talk about in this matchup is Eddie does have a very unique take on the deck. This is not as standard as what we've come to expect. He's cut a Prismatic Lens and a Consecration. And to some extent a Truce Over Champion, since he only plays one. And instead he plays a Blessing of Wisdom, a Solid's Pride, 2 Loot Hoarders,
Mind if I roll need?
and the Subdue.
One shot, one.
So a very interesting take on the list.
I hope you like my
It's just more consistent card draw overall, because Solid's Pride pulls the Novice Engineer, the Loot Hoarder, which then keep playing more cards. So it's kind of a cascading effect, and the Blessing of Wisdom in there as
I hope
well.
you like my invention.
Quite an interesting lineup, to be honest.
Well, at Legend ranks only, both of these are losing matches for Paladin, but it's a lot better versus Shaman than it is against Malygos Druid. Malygos Druid is close to 60-40 in favor of Malygos Druid. For Shaman, it's like a 40, it's like a 53-46.
I hope you like my invention.
Based off what's available out there. And again, take that with a grain of salt. But one thing that's both very interesting is that Holy Wrath Paladin and Malygos Druid are combo decks, and they both float tier 3 win rates. They're at like 47% in the hands of the average player. So I think we can at least make the conclusion that those decks are harder to play at first glance than they might be for something a little bit more linear, like a Quest Druid or like a Quest Shaman. Now, that's not to say that those decks don't have nuance. In fact, Quest Shaman is considered by many to be a very hard deck.
But they have low floors.
Yeah,
Like
they have low floor for understanding what to do.
Yeah, you can.
Wait. What?
Engaging TC-130
All right.
mental dislocator.
And he finished his quest.
We got ourselves a game.
I mean, that's hard to remove.
The problem is, though, equality has a cascading effect. Because if you equality this on Met, it means that every minion that Gallon plays until you decide to remove the board also is 1 health.
It's true. That's where you get the Titanic Lackey.
That's where you get the Titanic Lackey.
Yeah. You all laughed at the golden Titanic Lackey for missing half its body and head.
Look how fast Eddie's Paladin deck draws cards. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. More than half of his deck just has the words draw a card or multiple cards. More than half his deck.
That's a lot.
That is a lot.
Yeah, he's going to deck out super quick. That being said, if we can check back in, Gallon has an opportunity to pick up Tempo.
Or Witch's Brew.
I
like Witch's Brew.
And I think there's a case for all 3 of those. You're anticipating somewhat of a board clear this turn.
Double
So there's that. But you also would really like the ability to develop a board, right? Going into that. But Witch's Brew puts you out of range of
The light
the Holy Rat. I don't know, TJ. It seems to me that Gallon's going to be ahead on the board for the majority of this game.
Yep.
If he's behind on board, Witch's Brew's not going to do much because he's going to be at like, what? 16 life, and he can't Witch's Brew back to full and like develop with or deal with the Chevalo on board. That's like a reasonable scenario. But that's not what's happening here. Yeah, it seems like Gallon's gonna prioritize
Damage.
hey. No, I was kind of wondering if you wanted to add that +2/+2 on the Omet and then play the Wasp. But looks like Gallon's spreading it out so that he's better versus Subdue.
Whew.
Definitely looking like an equality setup of some kind this turn, but doesn't look like Eddie has any follow-up, so maybe instead he holds on to it. This turn instead he could play timeout and draw cards.
I mean, he could draw a lot of cards. He could Blessing of Wisdom.
I like that. Like that draw. Novice and timeout seems good to me here.
Novice and timeout could force him to overdraw. Actually, no.
He'll be good.
Yeah, he'll be good.
Like my invention.
Because it'll bring him down to 8 cards at the end of the turn. Blood Mage Soundnose would bring him up to 9. And then he'd be fine.
Right.
I mean, it's good for reload. He assumes that his board's going to get removed and could Hero Power Kick move it.
Exactly.
So I'm just holding here, forcing the removal out from Eddie.
Yeah, and that Farsight, I wonder why that Farsight, I guess he didn't pick Farsight over Witch's Brew. He picked the extra 2 damage. If that extra 2 damage ends up being the reason Gallon wins, he's a genius. But if he needs extra heal because he didn't pick Witch's Brew, I'm going to be upset.
Let me think.
Only time will tell.
Well, Gallon's pretty close to trying to find a way to end this game, right? Because he does have the ability to go for Life Drinker and Shutter Blocks. Definitely a decent amount of damage there.
He's running out of time.
Gigglings.
Real quick, though.
2 giggles. Might be a laughing inventor. Trina Muerte!
What?
Revives the Met.
Ahmet?
I see
He does!
future. That's incredible.
Honestly, that's a little bit weird, though, because now he only has 1 board space to work with.
That's all he needs.
Okay. But Eddie's going to draw, his whole deck. This deck just has so much draw, it's insane. I look at it and I just...
It's so greedy.
It is... He cuts Consecration, Prismatic Lens. I guess he cuts draw.
For more draw.
For more draw.
Wait, if I cut draw, I can put more draw on the deck.
But now he can time out again. Next turn he can roll into Shrink Ray.
Yeah, or Zephyrus? No, he doesn't have it active yet. Does he have any more cards you can draw off of this Crystology? Does not look like it. One thing Eddie can also try to do is line up. He's the reason why this Zephyrus isn't active, by the way, is because of the double baleful banker. If Eddie can find both of those bankers, he can immediately roll into a double Holy Wrath turn when there's 1 card left. Or even just actually 1 baleful banker. That's all he needs. This is actually bad based off what you've described, which is Gallon is going to run out of board space.
So, do you go for Shadowwalk?
Well, maybe you just play the Life Drinker now so you can heal up to 30.
Yeah, but the damage is...
You missed the damage, but you invest it into the pool of Shudder Walk.
That's true.
And you also get out of range of, well, I guess Holy Wrath plus Change. You saw a Prismatic Lens, so there's a possibility that Holy Wrath is less than 5. And if Holy Wrath is less than 5, they could Baleful Banker, a free Shirvala, Holy Wrath, and then also Hammer of Wrath. 20 each. I agree with this.
Otherwise, you would just pass.
Yeah. This Wild Pyromancer, Hammer of Wrath, Shrink Ray works out brilliantly here.
Yep.
And then not getting in the 6 damage from Gallon definitely stings.
Let me
The 6 damage from the Life Drinker that we're referencing, of course. Truth be told, I kind of wonder if Gallon should have gone for the hero-powered Life Drinker instead of the double Giggling Inventors. Because I don't know how good Giggling Inventor is in this matchup. It feels like it's a liability a lot of times.
Prevent Shirvala from healing.
Yeah, you're right. Prevent the heal is actually pretty important. Baleful Banker number 1, and I think
must move quickly.
I think Gallon here is almost locked out
Well,
completely.
Shudderwalk can do a lot here. It develops some lackeys, it draws some cards.
Yeah.
It makes Anoyatrons.
It's true, the Noyatrons are pretty impactful.
It coins. No, it doesn't coin.
I mean, you mentioned that it does a lot. It also kind of did a lot of nothing.
Oh, do you risk the Doomsday?
Ready to make
Yeah.
some money.
I guess so.
I think it's a bad
I'm almost
situation.
out of cards.
2 Holy Wraths. What's the last card in Eddie's deck? Don't know. So Eddie has Baleful, Shirvala, Baleful Banker, Wild Pyromancer, Holy Wrath.
It's Baleful Banker, right? It's the second Baleful
Oh, it's
Banker.
the second Baleful Banker, right? But there's enough damage on board that would threaten him even after the Wild Pyromancer trade. He'd be at 19. His opponent has 10 showing on the board. That's too much.
So you Zephyrus and clear the board.
Zephyrus clear the board. Yeah, Zephyrus clear the board.
And then Gallon needs to set up.
Could we
pressure.
do something better? Like maybe
Let
Frost
me
Nova
think.
instead? No, I don't know about that. Yeah, I think it might be Twisting Nether.
The Anoyatrons make it weird.
Must move quickly.
I think you want those gone. Does allow you to get True Silver Champion damage in. Or Shirvala healing.
Regulations by suggestion.
Whoa. Oh, wow. So damage that Gallon could get in.
There's a lethal out here
Yeah.
with the evil Cable Rat into double Kobold Lackey.
But Gallon also knows that if he doesn't get the out, he can't play Giggling Inventor. Wait, what about if he gets 1? If he plays Cable Rat for 1, for 2 mana, you get 1 Evil Kobold, you hero power, Kobold for 4, Barista, get 2 more Kobolds. Is that enough mana? That's 7. Hero power is 9. No, can't do that.
Wait, that's enough.
You don't have enough mana.
Evil Cable Rat, Kobold Lackey, Hero Power Barista. That's 10 mana.
Vengeance.
That would be enough mana.
But that's assuming you get exactly Evil
It's a
Cable
1 in
Rat.
5. Right? So he thinks his chance of winning is more than 20% right now.
And
Let's stash
Gallon here, Wild Pyromancers and then Holy
Yes.
Wraths, heals up and clears off most of the board, and then I don't think Gallon has an out.
Yeah.
I'm out of cards.
He only has 3 damage on board.
Well, he has to also deal with these Shirvallah, too.
Yeah. I honestly think he may have had to go for it last turn.
All right, this is a solvable situation, I think.
Yeah, because he knew the Wild Pyromancer was there.
Didn't get the Lackey anyways.
Mortals are so squishy.
Uchilaki into King Crush Wind Fury.
Oh, wow, you're right.
That's exactly 19.
I know, he double evolves. He double evolves.
Exactly, yeah, that's what he needs.
Oh!
He needed exactly King Crush. That was... We've been so close in these Shaman matchups to having just the nuts outcome. There's not that many 9-drops.
There's not.
That was so close. It was exactly 19 damage from hand.
There's also like a time where it's like, should Gallon be playing the Giggling Vendor, or should he be, you know, getting the damage with the Life Drinkers in? And he missed that damage with the Life Drinker because he had to play it instead on timeout.
Yeah.
And then he drew his other Life Drinker.
Yeah.
So there's damage that you could squeeze in, and that damage matters.
Yeah, I get the thought of you're trying to deny Shirvallah healing, but he knew the second Wild Pyromancer was still there. He may have been hoping that it was swapped to a higher cost because he hadn't seen. He was maybe thinking that one of the Holy Wraths was swapped with Wild Pyromancer, so Wild Pyromancer was 5, which means he wouldn't be able to do that combo. But if he goes for Life Trigger that turn, he has so many more outs. And the Shirvallah still gets the healing, which it did already because Wild Pyromancer. I mean, there's a lot of debating back and forth, but one thing's for certain, King Crush there at the end would have been cool.
Would have been dope. Let's go ahead and check in with Eddie. Off of another victory, improves to 6-3 and ties purple for top of the division. Eddie, are you there? Can you hear us?
Yeah. How are you guys doing?
Nice. How'd the series feel for you for games 1 and 2?
I felt very stressful game 1. I had a really good hand. I kept 3 cards. The card I mulliganed, I got Cleric. It just couldn't get better, but I was debating on turn 3, or I forgot it was 3 or 4. Oh, I think it was...
The Wild Pyromancer play?
Yeah, whether to extra arm or to play Injured Blade Master in a circle. And I was trying to debate like all the pros and cons, but I'm not sure. But with my line, I definitely got punished.
Well, it made it really dramatic, that was for sure, because both of you were like, no, wait, he's in the lead. No, the other player's in the lead now, and it was kind of nicely contested back and forth. So you did it for the entertainment of the crowd. That's always what you can say.
Yeah, but game 2, I definitely felt really comfortable. Holy Wrath Paladin is my favorite deck, and I definitely comfortable playing against all of his decks. So, yeah, it went pretty well.
Yeah, I mean, it looked like your deck list has leaned really heavily into the card draw. And, you know, last week we asked you about Solid's Pride. This week you're bringing it back. You said you weren't sure about it. Are you feeling more sure about it now?
I talked to some of my, some of my friends and, Monsanto. None of them buy the logic that with Double Loot Harder, it seems way more faster to cycle. And in that game specifically, I kind of just... After 3 or 4 where he got admit, I just gave up the board, and I'm still very comfortable at that spot because my deck cycles really fast. And with this list, I'm way more comfortable holding back Double Holy Wrath because with the standard list, it feels way more slow to cycle. So sometimes you have to use Holy Wrath as a draw and hope your choose over gets for the 30 damage. But with this list, I'm pretty comfortable that I can just hold the Holy Wrath even though it was in my opening hand for the whole game, and I could just do 50.
Well,
I'm just waiting for you to transition into a full Highlander Paladin at this point, even though it's not.
Also, like, just to put it into perspective, he played Novice Engineers and played Shutterwalk, which drew him cards with Novice Engineers, and at the end of the game, you were still 9 cards deeper than he was. Like, it's just insane how fast that your specific lineup or deck can draw cards.
Yeah, they always say they were saying like, oh, like Malagos Druid like draws to their deck faster than OTK Paladin. I was not. I was like, I don't know about that one.
No way, Jose.
I have no idea about that one. Eddie, you banned the Reno Hunter, which was something that we weren't exactly anticipating there. Is that because you value the Paladin so highly?
I think Hunter seems a very good fit against my lineup. My Druid is not standard Quest Druid, it's Quest Mally. So I play a couple times on ladder and I get destroyed by Reno Hunter every time after they play Brand. And it's definitely favored against my Warrior. Warrior normally tends to be favored, but I cut Easiana and I have so many card draws with no with that I can just easily go with Fatigue. And I'm not really comfortable playing Priest against Hunter, honestly. They have like pressure plate, and a lot of times you just have to. The best way is to just hope that the secret is not what that's gonna be good against you, whether it was pressure plate or snipe at certain point of the game. So I felt like banning Reno Hunter seems a really good ban against my lineup. It feels favor against all my decks.
I think that's a good analysis. I think there's not enough respect given to Hunter, and I think it paid off with a 2-0. Nice job, Eddie. Good job in that series, and we'll see you back later this weekend for another match.
All right, take care.
Eddie's going to be playing against Firebat, a player that he's had a pretty good record against throughout Grandmasters going back to Season 1. And Gallon takes the loss, so he can't go up to 6-3 and meet Purple for a spot to fight for potentially #1. Would have been a really fun scene to be set, but you know what?
He could tie him.
Guess Purple
That's
was
still
good.
fun.
Guess Purple was right. That Gallon's ego got a little too big.
Well, if Gallon wins, they're both 6-4 at the end of the week.
That's true. He could tie it up, so he
could
can
tie it
strike
up.
back. I'm a Gallon fan, personally. I like Gallon a lot. I think he's cool. He's got a cool name. His real name. And his username. But his real name is really cool, too.
Yep. Ed.
Edwin Godfrey.